the Arab world is living through a very unique transitional phase, and with that comes the need to address local and regional challenges, and one of which happens to be employability and the need to create new jobs, and to not only that, but to create jobs in an industry that's ever changing, to accommodate the needs of the global market and fill gaps that I think local and regional actors are finding a little bit too difficult to understand. There's no recipe to create the best entrepreneurship program, but personal observation and organizational observation, especially working with local, regional, and international counterparts, have taught us to take it slow in first defining objectives for these programs, and the need to create frameworks and standards by which we set, indicators and then evaluate the impact of these programs. In the field of employability, there should be a need to realize that investing in such programs should be looked at as a long-term investment. Quick wins don't work when employability is linked to livelihoods, and it's when employability is linked to social integration. These are things that factor out and are felt long-term. There are obvious actions that should be taken to ensure the effectiveness of the programs on the ground, run by international organizations, but also local organizations. And the most obvious of them right now and in today's field is the need to address the challenge with defining terms, defining objectives, defining key players and the role of each, and creating channels of collaboration and communication through the different stages of programs, whether it's employability or job creation or even entrepreneurship and incubation. It is indeed very difficult. One, and for a fact, we established the notion that not everyone should become an entrepreneur, and with this logic comes the intervention to not push people to become entrepreneurs. The work that we do at Tech Tribes is to help the younger generation, with focus on women and the marginalized, to realize their full potential. If that full potential is a great business idea, then the investment should be done there. If that potential falls in any other category, then we invest in that. Now, supporting young businesses, small to medium enterprises, is the core of what we do at different business growth stages. We start at the intention phase, a person who has a great idea or what seems like a great idea but wants to ideate. We invite those people to an ideation session during which we discuss, validate, expose them to mentors and experts from the field who would provide support and guidance on how to take this idea forward. Then comes the need to pilot test and validate whether this idea can actually scale up and whether it's valid to begin with. With that comes the need to research, and that requires a certain skill set that Tech Tribes fills in with both mentorship and training. After that, there are two different routes. If the idea is validated as a good business idea, we usually channel that idea and advise the business owner at this level to seek incubation and investment. If the idea is invalid as an idea to scale up, but it could be a small business, then we ask this person to invest more in capacity development, and we guide them to other technical trainings or mentorship like legal advice, counseling, or even branding, marketing, and product strategy. A couple of the biggest, I'd say, challenges have been the lack of tools and toolkits in Arabic to guide the work that we do, and the scarcity of manuals and lessons learned on how to build relationships with donors, the private sector, and also assess impact on the ground, because we function and run in an environment and an ecosystem that changes on a monthly basis. The response and the interventions that we sometimes have to work with makes it difficult for us to address most of these challenges. And just because Jordan is a transition also country for so many of the beneficiaries that we work with, it makes it difficult for us to apply most of what we sometimes think is best to scenarios and cases that don't fit those bigger, I would say, bigger frameworks. The need to basically identify new tools, adapt new tools, draw from international experiences, and the lack of such international experiences in Arabic, I would say, stands until the day one of the biggest challenges that keeps us and others in the field from sometimes moving forward. The second, if I may, is organizational capacity development and the lack of programs that are willing to support new or emerging nonprofit organizations in achieving their missions by building the internal capacity, the institutional capacity, because unfortunately those programs almost do not exist in the region. So with that comes the need to get creative with the way you do things and learn from mistakes. Our journey since 2012 has been one that is both difficult but also very promising. We learned a lot throughout the journey from mistakes, and the supporters and the support that came with funding from NGOs was equally matched with support that came in from the private sector. And with that came the realization that nonprofits in the region need to work towards cultivating and encouraging building partnerships with a stakeholder that is usually forgotten but has so much potential to help them grow these businesses and scale up these ideas. A couple of our supporters have been telecom companies like Zain Telecom, who would support with consulting services or services that are in the field of what Zain provides, SMS to reach out to our most vulnerable and marginalized. Another key, I would say, supporter is Cisco, which provides us with online trainings, unconditional access to online trainings, which can hopefully fill the gap in skills training in the fields of Internet of Things, digital security, and many others. And these partnerships nowadays give us hope because we understand the market differently, and as it unfolds, the needs become different, but also the need to address these needs with partners as such usually force us to create creative partnerships. And these are two of these creative partnership examples.